Hi, everyone. Lauren Dempsey again with another interview, this time with April Smith of Survivor's Nest, which is based out of Atlanta, Georgia. So we were introduced to April through Women's Net, which we won the Amber Grant from Women's Net earlier this year. And we're really thankful to Women's Net for introducing us to April because she has a pretty incredible story about being diagnosed with breast cancer at age 34 with absolutely no family history of the disease. Through battling the disease at a younger age, diagnosed about 4 years ago, and now she also has a new organization called Survivor's Nest, where she is hoping to inspire, inform, and support women who are going through breast cancer. So with that, I'd love to introduce April and let her tell you her story with being diagnosed with breast cancer and her journey ever since. So thanks so much, April, for being here.
You're welcome, Lauren. Thank you so much for having me. And I want to say thank you so much for what you're doing in the breast cancer community. As Lauren stated, my name is April Smith. I was diagnosed with breast cancer at the age of 34. I didn't have any history of breast cancer. And my lump was found, what I like to say, by default. And I say by default because I didn't find it through a mammogram or through a self-examination. My husband and I was riding home from work one day, and he bumped into my breast and discovered the lump. And at that time, I blew it off, didn't think it was anything. But later on that evening, curiosity creeped in. So I did a Google search, and to my surprise, Google said it was anything. Normally Google tell us, oh, you're gonna die, or you got cancer, or anything to that nature. But Google was like, oh, it's probably just a cyst or a fibroid. Just wait 2 weeks and maybe it'll go away. So 2 weeks went by and it was still there. So it led me to schedule an appointment with my doctor. And just like Dr. Google, she stated, hey, you know what, I think it's probably just a cyst, but don't worry. But just to be safe, let's have a mammogram. So I had the mammogram, and on the day of the mammogram, they didn't like what they saw. So they had me to have a mammogram the same day. They didn't like what they saw from the ultrasound. They didn't like what they saw from the ultrasound, so they had me come back later on that day for a biopsy. I had 5 lumps in one breast and one lump in the left. And the 5 lumps were cancerous. I later found out it was cancerous. So the day of diagnosis, it was very hard for me. I didn't want to accept that I had cancer. I immediately told my husband, I'm not going through this process. I'm not having chemo. I'm not losing my hair. I'm not doing any of it. I refused to go through that process. So I denied treatment for several months. The day of diagnosis, I went to Whole Foods and got a book. And through this book, it had many ways to cure yourself holistically. So I brought all these different herbs and, different wheatgrass and all kinds of stuff with the intent to heal myself holistically. So several months went by and the cancer it was progressing actually, because it began to spread to my lymph nodes. And I was dealing with so much pain. I couldn't walk. I couldn't move my shoulders. Excuse me. And I had insomnia, and that's what pretty much led me to, take action. Actually, within that same time period, the nurse from my oncologist, she called me and she was like, you know what, April, you're so young. We can beat this. Just come in and hear what we have to say. So I went in and I still had my guards up, still wasn't ready to go through this fight of having cancer. But through my faith, I was able to build up some strength and put up my bootstraps and go to war and fight cancer. So after 17 rounds of chemo and 30 days of daily radiation and 3 surgeries, I'm cancer free. And through that process of learning how to heal myself holistically, well, I don't say heal myself holistically, but taking a holistic approach to healing, I decided to found the Survivor's Nest. And with the Survivor's Nest, we help, and I'm probably getting ahead of you, you probably will, and let me know if I am, but I founded a Survivor's Nest to help other young women fight cancer holistically alongside a traditional approach to healing cancer.
So I think that's really important in the sense that you had these preconceived notions about what chemotherapy and what it was going to be like, and you that influenced your decision to postpone treatment. So how does that experience, that personal experience for you, how do you use that knowledge now to help other women who are currently battling breast cancer?
I get so many questions when I'm doing my peer-to-peer support about cancer. A lot of women are afraid about losing their hair, going through chemo treatment. A lot of us, our nails turn brown and, you know, they peel off and things like that. So I get a lot of questions of how to overcome that. So with my experience, you know, I had to take the traditional route with chemotherapy and radiation and so forth. So I'm able to coach them on different herbs they can use to help overcome that, you know, different medicines out there they can get from their local store. But I always tell them, I'm not a doctor, but this is how I overcame. But a lot of times I partner them with a health coach, someone who is licensed and certified with holistic healing, so they can overcome chemotherapy, overcome a lot of those side effects.
So this is all types of things that you're able to do through Survivor's Nest, connect them with health professionals who can aid in their assistance as they go through chemo. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
And I can obviously tell from afar that you're a very positive person. So how did your positive mindset really help you through your cancer journey, and how are you using that positivity with other women who are currently battling breast cancer?
Oh my goodness, it helped me so much. I mean, my doctors, they were so surprised. They're like, I wish I could just take a picture of you and frame it and keep it on our wall. Like, you're the poster child of positivity. And I had a great support system. My husband was super amazing. Like, he was so overprotective of me to where friends and family, like all our family live in Florida, but my family who I adopted here in Atlanta, people from a church that I attended and from work, they would ask, can I come to doctor's appointments with you? And my husband was like, why? And they would say out of care, they wanted to be there to support me, but he was like, you know, why? You got me. But it was one couple, they was like, I don't care what he says, I'm coming with you. And he didn't realize that he needed care too. Caregivers need care too. He didn't know that until he had it, until people started stepping in and coming over and bringing meals to help me during chemo and, excuse me, to that extent. But back to your question, it means a lot. The way you carry yourself, having a positive mindset, it means a lot. I will dress up every chemo appointment, make sure I had on lip gloss, a lipstick, because when you look good, you feel good too. And so it definitely helps out a lot. And I always tell that to the women who I'm mentoring, you know, I know it's tough and, you know, there's some days that you don't even want to get out of bed, but find a way. So every day I'm texting someone just inspirational messages or sending them cards in the mail just to uplift their spirits while they're going through this tough time.
I think you bring up some really great points about the importance of having a support network around you. Where did you find that type of support? How did that come about? And can you offer some tips and resources for women who are currently battling breast cancer and really need to build that community of support around them?
Absolutely. Now for me, and I tell this to a lot of people who I'm mentoring, you have to be careful when you go on social media looking for support. There's a couple of groups that I'm in Facebook, and even to this day, it's hard for me to even read the messages. So if you're not a strong person, a lot of times you could begin to read those messages and you get afraid. Like there are sometimes people are even like, oh my gosh, I think I'm gonna die. And if you're going through cancer, how does it gonna make you feel if you read a message saying, I think I'm gonna die, or I'm experiencing this, or I mean, it depends on who you are as a person. So like I said, you have to be really, really, really strong. So for me, whenever I journaled or put my story out on social media, I always make sure I put it from a positive perspective. Even if I'm having a bad day, I have my bad day with my husband or close friends who I know are going to be there to lift me up. So it's very important to find someone who can lift you up during those times. So you just gotta find that trusted friend, that trusted family members. You can't share everything with everyone. Like for example, young lady who I'm mentoring, she's like, I don't have anyone who I can talk to or know what I'm going through. If I share that I'm afraid with my mom, she's going to get afraid too. Now she's sad and now she's depressed. So we need organizations such as the Survivors Nest and who have someone who has been through it directly and know what it means like to feel a certain way to help someone overcome it. There's one other organization called I Will Survive Inc. It's based out of Atlanta too. I don't know many national oh, yes, I do. I think it's called Tiger Lily. It's a nationwide, and they do provide peer-to-peer support too. But those are organizations who help women get through it, and I know from a positive perspective.
I mean, again, I think that's some great information inside of social media that I hadn't really thought of before, in the sense that if social media is great, it allows you to connect with their survivors, but you can also be taken down some dark holes right there when at times when it's probably opportune for you when you're battling breast cancer. So what is some of the types of outreach that you do at Survivors Nest to kind of take it offline and off the screen and really bring the healing and the support in person?
Some of the things that I do offline, I attend doctors and hospital visits with a lot of the women who are going through treatment. And then I also do walks. We do monthly walks. Like I find, any type of cancer survivor. It could be cervical cancer or breast cancer. We have monthly walks. So we're just walking and talking. Just a way of me to get them moving. Like I always tell you, gotta move. You gotta walk at least 30 minutes a day. Then I do fitness fundraisers throughout the year. I'm a huge dance fitness person, so I like to incorporate that into fundraising. So a lot of money that I raise from my dance fitness fundraiser goes back into the Survivors Nest to help me with attending doctor's appointments or providing financial funding for those who need help with different herbs or healthy eating as far as fruits and vegetables. Because a lot of women, they want to do right, but oftentimes they don't have the funding to do right. So the Survivors Nest can help them with scholarships, with getting that get funding to eat better or to go to the gym or to get a massage, because all of this self-care with healing and overcoming cancer. I know for me, being that I had a double mastectomy, I went through a lot of pain. I'm quite sure you saw it with your mom or maybe, with your grandmother. But a double mastectomy is the same type of surgery someone will go through if they broke their shoulder. You know what I mean? And a lot of times the doctors are not treating it as such. They'll give you double mastectomy and then send you on your way. But there is so much treatment that is needed well beyond the double mastectomy. A lot of times we have to go through what we call breast cancer rehab, to where you have to learn how to use or get your mobility back in that area. So that comes with stretching. I'm a big advocate for yoga, for mindfulness and for stretching your body. So again, we provide resources to make sure these women are getting full self-care mentally and physically.
That's great. I read a statistic that when it comes to breast cancer, the importance of the support network really is a difference between recurrence and not. So if you have that strong support system, you're able to get to your doctor's appointments, you're able to get that help, your likelihood of having a recurrence is much lower because you're taking care of yourself at the time when you're going through the disease. So organizations like Survivors Nest really are playing quite a vital role for women who are battling breast cancer. And I know when we talked earlier that you didn't always want to make cancer your platform. So can you talk a little bit more about your outreach to women, specifically in the African American community, about prevention and healthy living and your perspective there to kind of maybe get to the left of the issue?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I feel like it's very important because you're spot on with those statistics. A lot of times in the African American community, we're afraid. We have to put up this persona as like we're strong, or it can't happen to me, or I don't have time for it to happen to me because I have kids to take care of. I have to work this job. I can't miss work because, oftentimes women may be single moms, or or they may be married, and they still have to upkeep that household while the husband go out and work a lot of hours. So they feel like I just don't have that time to be vulnerable. But you don't have that time to be sick either. And that's what I have to get women to understand. You don't have time to be sick, and do something good for your body every day. Know what's going on with your body. And that's why I love what you're doing as far as know your normal. Know what's going on with your body. Get familiar with your body. You feel something that is off, go check it out. It may not be anything, but if it is something, at least you catch it early. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm a part of a dance fitness group. It's about 50 women. We meet at least 3 times a week, and they know I'm going to say something about breast cancer. Have you checked your tatas? And I keep them involved too with a lot of things that I have going on, like if I'm doing a fundraiser or a drive to where I'm fundraising maybe herbal teas or something to that extent. They know why they're doing it. So it makes them think, okay, if I'm doing it for someone else, I need to check out myself. And then I'm always talking about it on my social media platforms about it and how I overcame it. And when people see how I overcame it, I'll get those messages in my inbox like, hey, I found it long. Can you help me through it? Can you coach me through it? Or what should I do? So that helps me keep it in the forefront of the people I deal with in the African American community.
I think that's great, especially since you had no family history of breast cancer and it really came out of nowhere. I think sometimes when you hear the statistics about the BRCA gene, you assume that it's automatically hereditary, but in many cases, breast cancer is just random.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing that, I know you have 2 young adult daughters. What is your advice to them, and how has your diagnosis and your journey through breast cancer, how has that impacted them?
Oh, they look at it totally different. Oh, they're advocates. But I'm always encouraging them too, because although they saw me overcome it, I still have to remind them, you know what, please check your tatas, because they're young women. And, being young women, sometimes you feel like you may be exempt for certain things. So I'm on top of them, like, hey, did you have your monthly check this month, and about eating better and keep moving, being active and stuff to prevent it. For me, it's all about prevention, doing what you can to prevent it. But going through it was definitely tough on them. I remember telling, because for a while, as I mentioned before, I tried to beat cancer holistically. So during that time point of trying to beat it holistically, I didn't share with anybody but my husband. So I was getting information in the mail. I would hurry and go to the mailbox and hide it because I didn't want my daughters to see that C word, cancer, on any mail with my name on it. So when I finally told them, which about maybe 4 months into it, they took it really, really hard. They was crying, didn't know what to do. They went into a bitter depression. But once they saw me and my approach to it and how I was always uplifting and always encouraging them, it made them stronger people. It made them stronger beings. And whenever they're going through tough times, they can look back and like, you know what, I remember when you was fighting cancer and you still was doing this, because I still kept a job. I was still helping other women overcome it. I would have a surgery and be ready to go back to work the next day. And they saw me go through that. So now, like my daughter, who's an athlete, she missed out on a scholarship opportunity, and she took it so hard. Then she remembered, like, you know what? I seen your approach to life, and now I have a whole different perspective on life. But again, they're definitely stronger beings now since they saw me overcome cancer.
Well, I can imagine they are. You really are a pillar of your 3 guiding principles at Survivor's Nest, with the inspire, inform, and support. So what's next for Survivor's Nest? Where do you want to take it?
Right now, it's only operating locally in Atlanta, but I see it operating on a national level, reaching out to more women, just coaching them and helping to live a healthier lifestyle before, during, and after cancer. We really need more advocates out there to help women get through cancer, mind, body, and spirit. You know what I mean? Like I said, there's so many organizations out there that's for finding cure and research and so forth, but we need more advocates out there helping women get through it holistically. And I think Survivors Nest on that.
So for people interested in learning more about Survivors Nest, where can they go? Where can they find you?
You can visit my website, thesurvivorsnest.com. You can also find me on Instagram at The Survivors Nest, and I'm also on Facebook at The Survivors Nest blog_shop.
Perfect. Well, I don't have any more questions for you. Is there anything else you'd like to add as we wrap up this conversation?
That will be it for now. Just again, thank you so much for taking the time to hear my story and giving me this platform to share about my journey and about the Survivors Nest. And again, thank you so much what you're doing for our community.
Thank you, April. You are definitely a pillar of strength and positivity, and we look forward to sharing your story with our followers and really helping get the message out there about taking care of your mind, body, and spirit and before, during, and after cancer, which is just so important, regardless of where you may be in your health journey. So thank you so much, and look forward to seeing some great things from Survivors Nest.
You're so welcome.
Bye.
Bye-bye.